That was kind of a busy moment. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm Abby Hagyard. This is my tiny corner of the world where the most interesting things happen. I had can't post messages to some channels. Well, you know what? We're going to do the best we can. I don't know. Everything is supposed to, hang on a second, learn more. What do I have? I have, what is this? Read reply. Yes. What else? What else? Okay, it's fine. I don't know. Maggie and I were talking on another session last night, and I could get on the air on my phone, but I couldn't on my computer. Then all of a sudden I could. It wasn't like, I'm sorry, you're barred. It's you're just barred right now. Good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Eddie. Just another small glitch this morning. All right, here we are. By the way, Miss Maggie, I just want to say something. I ran out of time to send it to you, but apparently there's a dramatic shortage of electricians, not to mention pipe fitters, but electricians. You can't get them for love nor money. And think of all the work that might be needed by electricians in various places in your country right now. Like, I don't know, Texas and Utah, and apparently there's no electricians. All right, so I want to talk about something important today. And I came up with the title for the video that made me laugh really hard. And then I thought, all right, that's the title. So the title for the video today is Re-Village People. Re-Village People. Now, if we say Re-Village People, we're thinking of that group. But if I say Re-Village, people, it's an instruction. Don't we love how we do that kind of thing? Cheers. Here's what I want to talk about now that I've calmed down from my panic. I want to talk about the fact that upgrades and innovations are important. They're necessary. And we're pleased. We're glad we get them. You know, we may not like the minor inconvenience in the temporary, but we're very grateful that things renew. What we're not grateful for is when we feel like we were not consulted. We feel like we were shunted aside, and the upgrades and the renewals have carried on regardless, and we've been kicked to the sidelines. And I thought that's part of the conversation. That is the biggest part of the conversation that I think we aren't having enough of. And it goes like this. If actually, you know what, I'm going to quote Seth Godin. Okay. Seth Godin is a guy that he has a subscription email that you can sign on for, and it's free. And he's a very wise man. And what he says is, musicality isn't a feature you add to an amplifier. Customer delight isn't something we add to our projects. Curiosity simply isn't simply what's left after education. Satisfaction in our work isn't created by the boss. Trust isn't something a brand builds with an ad campaign. You know what those things are? They are what's left if we don't ruin it. The fabulous positive outcomes are what's left if we don't try and finesse things and put them in the boxes that we think are important. Of course, we need containers for things. Of course, we need structure. Of course, we need strategy and plans. We also need to look at the thing we're containing. We need to look at the package that serves it, not serves us. And if we can find that beautiful middle door, that door number 3, where it serves everyone, huzzah, right? But today, there's so much anxiety, there's so much angst, there's so much overwhelm. And there's a lot of contributing causes to it. However, the one that Maggie and I have been talking about the most lately is this we've hit a wall. And we keep hitting a wall every time it's made abundantly clear to us that we don't matter to the person we're talking to. And it's a tricky thing to analyze, because we can only itchy nose. What does that mean? What does an itchy nose mean? I'm lying to somebody? Somebody's going to kiss me? Either way, we can only see the world through our eyes. We can only do this, and we can only do it from where we're standing. We can't see it through other people's eyes, and we certainly can't see it from over there while we're over here, and we can't see it today the way we saw it yesterday or the way we'll see it tomorrow, because we keep learning new things and we keep becoming. So that's an important thing to recognize. That's an important thing. In fact, Marnie Edwards and I were having the most wonderful lunch conversation last week. It was the occasion of her birthday. And I said, I'm going to take you to a place which will make us feel like all of our ancestors are saying, well, it's about time, and don't you look lovely? And while we were sitting having lunch, we were talking about the way we feel when we have a sudden small aha, that the way we are feeling right now has shifted from the way we have become used to. Something that built up, that became our normal, and all of a sudden we realize that that normal has evolved. And it doesn't have to have been in a big way. It doesn't have to be in a small way. Just that something is new. And it's an exciting moment. It's a little unnerving, it's a little unsettling, but it's exciting as well, because it means that everything is continuing to unfold. Now, the challenge for a lot of us, and one of the reasons for our angst right now, is that a lot of the things that we counted on, the things that we cared about, or the things that were our safe, familiar zone. Eddie, you and I have talked about this endlessly. There's a comfort in the way we behave. And in fact, this is what happened. This is what happened to you last year. The comfort in the way you have behaved in your life has always revolved around people becoming family. A lot of the theater you did, a lot of the productions that you did, it ends up with that sense of connection. It's the kids in the chorus. It's the gang getting together to talk about, oh my God, what happened last night. And we miss that. And we start looking for places and ways to replace it. And where we fall apart, and often happens, as happened to Eddie last year, was that he was involved in a small family business. And but there were many group members of the family working in the business. And so there was a kind of a mom, dad, buddy, sis feel about the place. And it was very, very easy to slip into being, the uncle, being the cousin, being the big brother who would sort of take over when mom and dad were busy and make sure that all the kids show up on time. And all of a sudden, you're taking on more and more responsibility for that relationship that, by the way, doesn't exist and shouldn't exist. Family should not spill over into the business of business, if possible. And it most definitely should not bring other people in and imply or finagle that family steps up. Maggie and I were talking about that as well. One of the people that she works with was saying, we're all basically owners here. We're all responsible. We're all like CEOs here, right? We take pride in our job. We put our name on our job. And in that way, we're part of the business. Everybody around the table is waiting for the punchline. And so that's why I know you won't mind doing some extra work on the weekend or answering your emails. And everybody's going, no, yeah, no, nope, draws the line. And I was laughing with her and I said, did this individual bring up stock options and shares the way the family has it, the way the business owners have it? She burst out laughing. Said, no, that didn't come up. I said, Just saying. And so who is it up to then to draw the line? Whose responsibility is it to try and navigate that tricky, slippery slope where I'm here and I have a vested interest in enjoying my day every day I come. And I'm keen to be part of everybody moving forward. I'm not compensated in the tangible ways for the responsibility that implies. Because with ownership of certain levels of work comes responsibility. And with responsibility comes accountability. And with accountability comes liability. And all of a sudden, all these little gray areas seriously need to be reconsidered, re-examined. One of the things that Maggie and I are talking about extensively these days is the fact that people are assuming too much. They're assuming that everything is going to be fine. They're assuming that everything is going to work. They're assuming that nothing is going to go wrong. And because they're making those assumptions, they're not policing their boundaries. They're not doing their job, not overdoing it, not clocking in when we're not being paid, but showing up and doing the job during the job, making sure we get it right, providing that level of certainty and reliability and dependability. That's what we're paid for, then that's what we're supposed to deliver. But all of these areas have become lax and unclear. And the minute anyone mentions something, people are upset because nobody knows how to mention it well. Nobody knows how to explain that it's my responsibility to teach and oversee the learning. It's your responsibility to learn and apply the knowledge. And between the two of us and that curve comes the job well done. We both have to know what the responsibilities are. We both have to know what the steps are, what the tasks are, what is expected. And then we have to be clear on whether or not we can deliver. And everybody is just kind of sidestepping and ignoring those fine details. And it's starting to show in a very big way. When you're organizing a picnic, you're organizing a potluck. If you just assume that everybody knows what to bring, that's how you end up with a lot of tuna casserole. You end up with a lot of potato salad. You end up with a lot of 7-layer fattening dip because nobody got assigned or asked to provide. And so this is where the conversation popped into my head yesterday. We need to re-village. We need to re-village, people. With or without the costumes and the sound effects and the dance moves, we need to re-village. We need to reassess how that process, how that structure, how that system used to work. Back in the day, way back in the mists of time, when the internet was becoming, all of a sudden, there was a phrase that became very popular, and it was the global village. And the other phrase that became very common and very popular was business without borders. And the reason those two phrases became popular is not because people let their walls down or they were traveling far distances. Is that the internet allowed us to be in more than one place at the same time. The internet has allowed this. Here I am in Ottawa, Canada, and there you all are, wherever you are. And by the way, say hi. Because the internet gives us this opportunity to be together virtually. What it doesn't provide is that completely irreplaceable sensation that we all feel when we come together physically in real time. A hug, a 20-second hug, a good, strong 20-second hug releases a lot of anxiety. It gives us our sense of balance back, our sense of solid ground back. And it's how we were raised when we were small. People held us until we were able to move around. What we need to find together, yes, you're absolutely right, Eddie. What we need to find is a way to reinvent the concept of human touch. We need to reinvent the way we can talk to each other. Maggie and I do our meeting calls, our strategic calls, and we use video. And the reason we do it is in order to witness the reaction in real time, in order to make no mistakes in our understanding of these exciting new concepts we're defining. It saves time. It minimizes confusion. And, this is imperfect. Here I am talking to you, and you are there watching me. And every so often you're making a comment, which is wonderful to see. What we miss, what we skip, is the actual conversation. Organizing Zoom, given the challenges that I have just getting on this thing, organizing Zoom sounds like one of those things I'm going to have a team behind me to make happen. What we want to do, what we can inspire each other to do, is create something that I've been chewing on for the last little while. And typing a message doesn't translate emotions, neither the emotions of the speaker nor the listener. Well, no, you're absolutely right, Eddie. It doesn't, unless, of course, we have code words for things like that. And that is part of a whole village concept. If I say, for those of you who aren't familiar with the way we all keep our sanity, it's called the later folder, right? And every one of you who has figured out how that works, Eddie's got his own way of doing it. Maggie's got her own way of doing it. Susan does it. Many of you do it. Rhea ran out and got hers. What it does, and by the way, I'm just assuming that we all know, a later folder is just a little notebook. And inside it is what we do is we write down anything that has stressed us. I broke my eyeliner pencil this morning. So that's why I'm a little bit late getting started, because I had to sharpen it in order to, right? And muttering and mumbling, and then I was busy, and then I dropped an earring and blah, blah, blah. So I stopped and I wrote down eyeliner, earring, and then closed the folder, because I don't have to deal with those things. All I had to do was get here without tripping over my chair or the doorway to sit down and open the window. And so what we are trying to do with each other and for each other on these ABCASTs is connect in as close a proximity to a village as we possibly can. To re-village, to reimagine what village felt like. And it happens. If I mention, remember that time, and you say, oh my gosh, and this, and somebody else chimes in, we can all look back on previous conversations. We can all share our memories together. Quite a few months back, I was talking about people who don't contribute, and I called them our barnacle buddies, because I was reminded of a video I saw there. The wildlife ships are going out and scraping barnacles off whales, not because the whales can't do it, but because it's quicker and easier. And the reason you want to do that, a little barnacle is nothing, but if there's 50,000 of them on a whale, it creates drag. And then the whales have to use more energy to swim to their mating areas and their birthing areas in the right amount of time. Remove the drag, and all of a sudden, life is better. And it's the same way with the concept of revillaging. We can create the relationships. We can follow up in texts, in conversations. If we manage to navigate ourselves into the same physical proximity, then we can get together in real time. If not, we can use everything at our disposal to feel that we all made the effort because we matter. The village concept is, yes, of course, strategic and physical proximity, but it's also the felt proximity, the awareness that we matter, that someone looks forward to their time with us. I'm so grateful that you look at the clock and say, oh, Abby's on. You could watch at any time. And quite often your lives are busy. When you can make the time, it means we're together. And we're doing this in real time. And we can follow up later. That's village. That's stopping to get gas instead of just paying at the pump, going in because you want to say hey to the person running the convenience store. You want to check to see if anybody bought that couch yet that's posted on the notice board. And you try to walk past the bag of chips aisle and you almost make it. That's village. That to me is the small, ordinary, warm things of everyday life shared. And I think that's the definition I'm looking for. The small, ordinary, everyday things shared rather than distanced, brought together. The pictures that I post, the comments that I make, that you make in response, that's the proximity shared. Different from the self-isolation, almost but not quite proximity. The substitution of this for this. We need the substitution. We need the tools. We don't thrive emotionally when the tools are all we have. I was listening to somebody the other day saying it's a difficult situation, in our relationship, because when my partner has time off and I take the kids, my partner goes golfing. When I have time off, I find myself running errands for the kids, for the house, for my partner and I. I don't draw the line. I don't give myself time off. Whose fault is that? It's mine first and everyone's, because we're in this together. We all contribute to the village. We all contribute to quality of life. We don't sit back and wait and say, you need to take better care of yourself. Sometimes we don't realize we've stopped doing that. So the conversation that I want to continue on with today, and then a little more on Thursday, is what the re-village people look like. And it doesn't have to come with the dance moves or the costumes. What do we, today's village people, what do we look like to each other? What can we bring to each other? Somebody reached out and said, hey, I heard there's this event. Do you know anything about it? And I said, I do, in fact. And I shared what I knew. They said, oh, wow, thanks. I didn't realize. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. That's reaching out to a friend. That's asking, can you help me with this? Not can you carry the other end of the sofa down the Eiffel Tower steps, but can you just quickly weigh in on this? And what have you got here? I always recommend to one of our team, this is Eddie, you need to write that down in a later folder and save it for after the more important stuff. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Eddie, because the more important actually means more immediate. Because there's nothing more important than getting rid of your crisis. There's nothing more important than getting rid of your stress. However, sometimes when cleanup in aisle 3 just got announced, priorities shift, right? So where we are today with the advent of another wrinkle in technology is unreadiness, I think, really. We fill our containers. If we have 24 hours in a day, we fill every single second of it. You notice that? At the end of the day, you don't end up with any more time. The clock starts again at midnight. So we get busy. And if we have a spare minute, we fill it with something. I have this worksheet I call the Now What time scheduler. Now What time scheduler. And the idea is to figure out how we end up, without thinking, spending our day, and then deliberately, consciously making room at the bottom of the list of all the stuff we do, the new thing. If we're going to do the new thing, it means that we actually deliberately have to remove time spent on some of the other stuff to put into the new thing column, right? We don't do that. We just kind of shove everything around, much like my desk, my shove everything around desk. If we take the time to say, I'm going to cut back on this in order to make time for that, we are not only organizing our time better, we're also prioritizing our peace of mind. So we're not frantic. That's part of the village connection. Abby, how did you ever get to do that? Oh, you know what I do? I have a hack. And then I'd share. Every one of these videos, I always say there's going to be a story, and then there's going to be something I call a simple win. A simple win is an idea, a strategy, a hack that I developed that creates an easier path. Not cutting out the things that matter, but making sure that we find time for the things that do. That is a phone number that rings and nothing happens. I don't know. I think it's connected to my fax. And yes, I have a fax, except that it never faxes. It's a ghost. It's on my list on the Now What time scheduler to call somebody. So the object of the exercise this week, I think for all of us, is to look around at what we do, look around at the way we connect, look around at the habits we have acquired as opposed to the ones that we deliberately set, that are further isolating ourselves from everyone else. Are we getting out? Are we stopping? Well, good morning, Kelly. How lovely to see you. Are we forgetting to go out? Are we forgetting to stop and say hi when we see somebody? Are we waving to people? Are we smiling and nodding when somebody allows us to go first? Are we saying thank you? If you've been watching my videos, you know that I have this little routine that I do now when I go shopping or I bump into somebody. Instead of saying, how are you? Because the answer is always fine, and you, it's not really a conversation. People don't have to interrupt their train of thought to answer it. It's just a parrot, right? I say, hey, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how's the day going so far? And it causes a thing, right? Because people have to, first of all, realize that they're being spoken to. And secondly, they're being asked a question. And oh my God, I haven't really thought specifically how the day is going so far. Actually, it's going well. You say in your head, okay, so how well? Well, certainly it's better than a 5, certainly better than a 6. Is it a perfect 10? No. And so they answer 8. Or they say 7, but it's moving up. It stopped snowing. And I say, right? Well, congratulations. I myself, I'm working on a 6, but I have high hopes. Now, what was that? That was a village moment. I re-villaged the ordinary, everyday, not really present, not really paying attention, isolated experience. and it took no time and no effort. And when I walked away and they walked away, we were both smiling. We had elevated each other in the way we feel, just navigating the path. Somebody spoke to us, somebody listened to us, somebody noticed us, somebody valued the time it took to have that conversation. We mattered. Alrighty then. And our entire energy shifts, and it costs nothing. That, I think, is the bottom line. So how do we do it? How do we develop that new pattern? Because the old pattern will persist until we deliberately choose to do something different. And so that became my thing. Back in the middle of COVID, go to the grocery store, everybody was wearing a mask. You can't connect. We never thought that unless you can see somebody smile, we're not really connecting, because the eyes don't always smile. And I would find myself smiling behind my mask and realizing nobody can see. And I said, I'm smiling behind here. The other person would say, I know, right? Me too. There's a connection. There's a village moment. We are showing each other that we're on the path together. We're not alone. And it's that reconnect, that re-awareness that Maggie and I have been talking about in the tech world. People who are not loving their jobs anymore, if they ever did. People who are overwhelmed by many other things are not saying, hey, I'm going to work. Hey, I'm grateful I have a job. You know, a job is time you commit in return for a reward. Our work is who we are and what we do. You know, Eddie plays music. Eddie and Jeff cook. They love food. Maggie has her stuff. I have mine. All my writing, all my performing, all my silly jokes. Nobody pays me to be me. They pay what I provide that they request. That's still not a job for me. That's my work, because everything I'm doing involves my creativity. Everything I'm doing involves my personal original input. And it's why I'm passionate about what I do. But not everybody has that, because not everybody has taken the time to understand something really important. And we can all do it, and it takes no time. And this is part of the hack. This is part of the village, the re-villaging hack that I want to share with you. Okay. I call it our superpower. And it doesn't involve a cape and tights. I mean, it can, if you like. But our superpower is that thing that we do exceptionally well, effortlessly. It's the thing we have always had a knack for, just automatically good at. Now, here's what's important about this superpower that we have. And when I say it, people kind of blink and say, what? The thing about superpowers is that they are transferable. And I'll explain. Just give me a second. So, if I'm good at communications, if I'm good at talking to people, if I'm good at elevating people out of their kind of autopilot, I'm good at making openings for people to remember why they came. I'm good at engaging people in ways that they enjoy. And I've always been able to do it. There are a lot of jobs, there are a lot of careers where that isn't valuable, but there are more jobs and careers and situations where it is essential. it means that whatever you want to call it, chief this, that, of the other, executive gopher, whatever it is you want to call it. I actually had business cards printed once that said executive gopher. I said, do I get cards? Sure. Can I put any title on it? Sure. They said, sure. Abby Haggard, executive gopher. I'm paid well, but the tasks are really small. They said, I can't put that on a card. Too late. What did it do when I handed the card to people? People, what is that? And that was me elevating their connection to the moment. I can do it anywhere. Why can I do it? How did I get good at it? It was my defense mechanism. It was my navigation tool. Ever since I was a little kid, because my dad was in the military and we moved every 15 minutes, it seemed. How fast do I want to make new friends? How fast do I not want to be alone and lost and confused? All right, then it's up to me to erase those distances. How fast do I want to feel happy and safe? It's up to me. And that's how I became good at it. And that is eminently and imminently transferable. Somebody who's great at fixing things is always in demand. Somebody who loves tinkering and fixing things is a happy person who's always in demand. Pretty much anywhere you are, something breaks and it takes forever to submit a work order and get the person in who's supposed to fix it. Do we have somebody qualified who's already here? Great. Those are transferable skills. This is the essence of village life. So our hack is this, our challenge is this, and I'd love to talk about it. I'd love to talk about it in a chat, in a text, in a messenger, on a call. What is your superpower? What is that thing that you do? How's it working for you? More importantly, how is it working for everyone? And how can we adapt it, upgrade it, shift it to make it more useful now? Not only for everyone, but for you. Can we call it something that people pay for? Because, oh my God, you do that? What do you charge? Superpower to the rescue. This is the essence of Revillage, people. It's how we reassess, redefine what we bring, what is needed, how it's needed, where it's needed now. That's our contribution, our collaboration, our connection. It's June. Everybody's wondering what we're going to do this summer and why didn't I start working out sooner? Because I can't even get near my bathing suit, let alone in it. That's what everybody's thinking. Air conditioning hasn't come on in our place yet. You know what works? You have a portable fan. Okay, you get a hand towel, you drip it in cold water, bring it out, drape it over the fan, put a dish under it. Fan blows through the cold, wet towel. The room cools down in 3, 2, 1, and you're welcome. Somebody came into my apartment the other day and said, the air conditioning isn't on. How come it's so cool? Because it's hot out there. I said, oh, this. Good heavens. That's a Revillage hack right there. In that moment, that contractor, that worker, and I were Revillage people. He actually had the tool belt. I could have gone to get the hat, but neither of us had the music. So there we are. So this is what I want to say to us today. I want to say that there is only now to feel better about now. it takes more than one brain massaging an idea to come up with that solution, because we can only see it through our eyes. We need extra sets of eyes to provide the other perspective. We need that village experience. We need that connection, that contribution, that collaboration. Now, I've just started to try and do a thing. It's technical, so I don't know if it's working. But there's a little gubbins that I've put on my Facebook page. It's called Stan Store. And if you go in and click, I've posted that, and you can connect and order and book a time slot to talk. So it's on my Facebook, and every day I'm just reposting the notice. But if you go on my page, right under my bio, there's a little blue highlighted thing that says Stan Store. And when you click on that, there it is. I don't know if it works. Nobody's connected it, or at least if they tried and it didn't work, they didn't tell me. So it's brand new. I've just posted about it a couple of times. So we can connect that way. We can also connect this nice old-fashioned way. We can wave at each other in a virtual reality. So before I go, I want to know, are you interested? Are you in if we create the Re-Village People experience? Let me know. I think it's awesome. And I think it's a perfect theme to talk about our superpowers. I think it's a perfect theme for a kind of a regular Zoom, a regular get-together where we can talk back and forth. I've been looking for an opportunity to do something in addition to these live videos where it's just a one-way talk and a one-way type. And I think this might be it. And I love the idea of calling it something really funky and odd. I don't know if I can do it, how I do it on Facebook, how I do it on Zoom, how I do it on YouTube. I have no idea. But all of you have more tech savvy than I do. And between the all of us, we can come up with something. So you let me know. Let me know if you think it would be fun to have a Re-Village People activity once a week. Maybe Wednesday evening. I don't know, 7:30, something like that. Just a drop in and talk about our superpowers and share with each other how we activate them. You let me know. All right. I think it would be amazing. So with that said, I'm going to start the wrap up. You know how it works. First of all, without you, I'm an oil painting. Oh, and second, LinkedIn guys, hey, thank you. It was like 800 last week. This is amazing. Keep it coming. Tell your friends. 800 new people, groups, checking in on my video. Because I post this on a hub thing, and it comes to Facebook, and it comes to YouTube, and it comes to LinkedIn all at the same time. Technology. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Facebook people. Thank you, YouTube people. Thank you. Help me get the numbers up. Help me get people involved. Why? Because then we're in it together. And that's the whole point. So with that said, be good to you. You deserve it. And it's not just mip, 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 mip every time. You deserve it. And you know it. And remember to hug your loved ones, because, oh boy, do they deserve it too. All right? Thank you for taking the time. You know it means everything, right?